Hello all, and welcome to Miss Martin's Classroom. Today's podcast will be featuring a YA fantasy series based on German folklore. I picked up this dark and imaginative series at NCTE a couple years back and fell in love with the enthralling and beautifully written prose. This tale is like no other. Liesl has heard tales of the dark and tantalizing Goblin King all her life. Her small and superstitious German village stifles Liesel as she begins to realize her childhood dreams of becoming a composer are just beyond her reach. When her sister is taken by the Goblin King himself, her old childhood playmate, Liesel must journey to the underground to try to save her. However, ancient laws steeped in chaos and darkness run the Underworld, threatening Liesel as she discovers a captivating beauty in the Goblin King that leaves her utterly enthralled. The tall, elegant stranger. He plays well, your brother. I blinked. The world around me was dark, and it was a long time before I began to make shapes out in the gloom. Trees and a full moon. The Goblin Grove. I had no memory of how I'd gotten here. A velvet voice stroked down my spine. I'm quite pleased indeed. I turned around. The Goblin King was lounging against one of the alder trees in the grove, one arm draped against the trunk, the other resting casually against his hip. His hair was in wild disarray, ruffled and feathery like thistledown, like spider webs, illuminating by the full moon into a halo about his head. His face held all the beauty of angels, but the grin upon his face was positively devilish. Hello, Elizabeth, he said softly. I stood dumb and silent. How did one respond to Der Erlkönig, Lord of Mischief, ruler of the underground? How did one address a legend? My mind spun, trying to reel in my emotions. The Goblin King stood before me, in flesh and not in memory. Mein Herr, I said. So polite. His voice was as dry as autumn leaves. Ah, Elizabeth, we need not stand on formalities here. Have we not known each other your entire life? Liesel, I said. Then call me Liesel. The Goblin King grinned. The tips of his pointed teeth gleamed. I much prefer Elizabeth, thank you. Liesel is a girl's name. And what do I call you? I strove to keep my voice from shaking. Again that predator's smile. Whatever you like, he murmured. I ignored the purr in his voice. Why did you bring me here? Tisk, tisk. The Goblin King waved one long, slender finger at me. I had thought you a worthy opponent. We were playing a game, Fraulein. But you don't seem much inclined to engage me. A game? I asked. What game? Why, the best game in the world. He leapt from his languid pose by the alder tree, suddenly alert, suddenly sharp. One where I take something you love and hide it. If you don't come to find it, it's mine to keep. What are the rules? The rules are simple, he said. I find it, I keep it. I'll note that you haven't made much of an effort to play. A pity, he pouted. We used to play so often when you were a child. Don't you remember, Elizabeth? I closed my eyes. Yes, I had played with Der Erlkönig. When I was young, after Cave and I had gone to bed, before Sepperl was old enough to talk, back when I was still myself, whole and entire, before time and responsibility had whittled me to a sliver of myself. I would run to the Goblin Grove to meet the Lord Underground. I would be dressed in a gown of the finest silk and satin, he trimmed in lace and brocade. The musicians would play, and we would dance, dancing to the music I heard in my head. It was when I first began to write down my musical scribblings, when I first began to compose. I remember, I said in a low voice. But did I remember something I had imagined, or something real? There was pretend, and then there was memory. I could see little Liesel dancing with the Goblin King, a Goblin King who was always just a little older, just a little out of reach. A Goblin King who fulfilled all her childish fantasies, who told her she was pretty, who told her she was cherished, who told her she was worthy of being loved. Was that a memory or a dream? But not everything. He leaned in close. He was not my size now. He was tall and reed-thin. Had he been an ordinary man, he might have been called lanky, but he was not an ordinary man. He was dererknig, possessed of preternatural grace. Every movement of his body was smooth, fluid, purposeful. He stood by me, hovering over my shoulder. Do you remember, Elizabeth, the little games of chance we used to play? Wagers. Constance said goblin men loved to gamble. If you could trick them into playing with you, they bet everything until they lost. I recalled the games the Goblin King and I played. Simple enough guessing games with simple enough stakes. Wishes and favors and hopes laid out on the betting table like cards. Guess which holds the golden ring. I remembered laughing and picking a hand at random. What will you bet, little Liesel? What will you give up if you lose? What will you gain if you win? What answer had I given? I was suddenly terribly, horribly afraid of what young Liesel had been willing to give. What had I unwittingly sacrificed? You lost the game. The Goblin King circled me, a wolf stalking a hart. You lost every game. I never chose right. The prize was never in the hand I thought. Perhaps the game had been stacked against me from the start. You promised me something I desperately needed, he continued, drawing out his syllables into a drawl. Something only you could give. His eyes glowed in the dark. I am a generous soul, Elizabeth, but no man waits forever. And what did I promise? I whispered. The Goblin King chuckled, and the sound rippled through my body. A wife, Elizabeth. You promised me a bride. The word fell between us, a drop of water in a bowl sending ripples of fear through me. Now the days of winter begin, and the Goblin King rides abroad, searching for his bride. Oh God, I whispered. My sister. Yes, the Goblin King hissed. I am patient, Elizabeth. I have waited a long time during which you never came, a long time during which you grew distant, a long time during which you forgot me. I never forgot you. It was true. If I no longer played pretend, then the memory of Derelkenig remained lodged in my soul. I could no more remove him from my life than I could remove my heart and live. No? He lifted a hand to brush an errant curl from my face, but hesitated. He curled his hand into a fist and dropped it back to his side. Then you denied me, and that is an even greater betrayal than forgetting. I turned my head away, unable to look at him. First your father, then you, and now your brother. Only Constance seems to keep faith with me now. The days of the wild hunt draw to a close, and no one heeds its call any more. I heed it, I said. What do you want from me? Nothing. His voice was almost sad. It's too late now, Elizabeth. The game was played, and you are forfeit. Kath. Where is my sister? I quavered. The Goblin King did not respond, but I sensed, rather than saw, the knife-edged smile on his lips. There was only one place Kath could ever be, far beneath the earth in the realm of Derelkenig and his goblins. The underground. The game isn't over, I said. You've made the opening gambit. This time I made myself look him directly in the eyes. In the bright moonlight there were two different colors, one as gray as a winter sky, the other a hazel green, the color of moss peeking through dead loam. Wolf's eyes. The devil's eyes. He could see into the darkness. He could see into me. I chose the wrong hand the first time. The salt, the audition. Guilt gripped me in a vice. I had chosen Yosef over Kath again. His smile grew wider. Very good. Fine, I said. I'll play. I tilted my head back. I'll play your game. Fine, I said. I'll play. I tilted my head back. I'll play your game. If I find Kath, you will let my sister go. Is that all? He said petulantly. Not much of a game if there's nothing interesting you're willing to sacrifice. The rules were simple, so you said. Finders keepers. You take, I lose. You hide, I find. Whoever fails is a loser. Let's say best of 3? Very well, then. He huffed his shoulders. But remember, Elizabeth, our childish games are behind us now. Those wolf's eyes glittered. When I play for keeps. Should you fail to bring your sister back to the world above by the next full moon, she will be lost to you forever. I nodded. You lost the first round, the Goblin King said. You must win the next 2 in order to win. The next full moon, I repeated. Or your sister is lost forever, he said. The Goblin King moved closer. His hand cupped my chin, and I raised my eyes to his multicolored gaze. I blinked, and then he was gone. Capturing the magic of love, yearning, and music in a way that leaves readers longing for more, S.J. Jones weaves a hauntingly captivating tale of Elizabeth and the Goblin King in Winter Song. This is truly a series you can simply sink your teeth into. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, check out my hashtag MSMRay to read and follow me on Instagram at ms_martins_class for more new books and fun lessons that are sure to engage you and your kiddos. Be sure to tune in next week for my new Book Talk Tuesday podcast, and please comment below if you've read this book or another book by the author. Book recommendations are also welcome. Thanks for watching!